What the fuck is this?
I don't know, it's a banana bread, is it not?
Yeah, the fucking bite out of it.
There's a bite?
I know that was you.
That's fucking awesome.
Starting off, the Fed announced
0.25. A pitiful attempt to curb what's happening. Ye old stock market.
ye old stock markets. There was some interesting news recently about potential stocks getting delisted. On another front, gold hit over 2,000 this last week.
I believe, yeah. But anyway, that's not here now. That's still a conspiracy theory.
And that rounds up.
That's what it is. What the fuck is this?
I don't know, it's a banana bread, is it not?
Yeah, the fucking bite out of it.
There's a bite?
I know that was you.
That's fucking awesome.
I need to get a picture of this.
Obviously, it was you.
It was not fucking me.
It wasn't me. I mean, what? No.
I don't think
Maybe she thought it was for her. Yeah, are you sure?
Maybe it was you.
I wouldn't have taken a bite without having a sip of the coffee, and I haven't touched the coffee yet. Ow.
Ow!
That's it? Like a whole bite. Oh shit.
The question is, do I eat the rest? Kind of have
Are you
to.
hungry or?
Kind of have to. Anyway guys, welcome back to another week of Sharp Stories. There has been a lot in the financial markets to talk about.
Financial world's on fire. If you will.
It is, in a good and bad way, depending on which side
Depends
of things
where your
you
money
are.
is.
That's it. Starting off, the Fed announced
0.25. A pitiful attempt to curb what's happening.
and then of course last week, I think it was last week,
Yep.
Bank of Canada announced the 0.25 as well.
The old BOC. Yeah.
The old BOC, the old BOC.
That's the one. So, although I don't think anyone's ever said it like that before,
BOC?
so thank you for that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how many rate hikes both countries do this year for the duration of the year. We typically follow the US, so it will be very telling, even though 0.25 at a time is very minimal. I think it'll be very telling to see how many little 0.25s they bump us to this year, and where they hit a plateau and say, whoa, this is changing too much, let's tone that down,
let's
throw
tone this
a little bit more money back in the system.
Both countries are really dealing with though like the inflation issue, and especially I think in America, I think they're going to be a lot more careful because they have the midterms in November.
What's the inflation in the UK right now?
I'm not too sure in the UK.
You just left them and just never to be thought of again, eh?
Yeah. When I left the UK, I was on the level of like the only thing I cared about was 4 Jaeger bombs for a tenner. Definitely not inflation.
For what?
For a tenner. $10 or £10.
4 Jaeger bombs for a tenner.
Yeah, so I got 4 Jaeger bombs by handing the barman a £10 note.
$2.50 each?
Yeah. Alcohol is ridiculously cheap over there.
5.5.
In the UK?
Yeah.
I know, I did see something the other day actually where a guy in the UK got, in Bolton in particular, he got a...
No one knows what the hell that means.
It's an area in the UK. Anyway, he got a gas bill, so UK gets a lot of their gas from Russia.
Yes. That'll be interesting too to see where that goes.
And I think the gas bill came through and it was like £46,000, and he responded on social media, I think it was. And he was just like, hey, is this for the whole of Bolton or just my address? And they were like, we'll take equal installments of whatever it was, like £2,900 a month or something, which is ludicrous. There must have been a mistake, yet they still hadn't reached out to rectify it. So
Putin doesn't have time for the details. Just charge him and move on. He's busy.
that's it. But yeah, because of that, there's obviously been a few changes. So an interesting one on the Chinese side of things.
Well, that's got nothing to do with inflation. We're on a new topic now.
Yeah. Okay, well.
Probably draw lines in the sand between topics. Sorry, continue.
Okay, different topic then.
Ye old stock market.
Ye old stock markets. There was some interesting news recently about potential stocks getting delisted. from the NASDAQ and such.
It's kind of been lingering news, but yes.
Now it's really starting to come into effect, so Alibaba was one of them.
That was a big one, yeah.
I think overall there's actually about 200 that are being investigated.
So it was transparency in their financials was the main issue, I believe.
Yes.
That they weren't getting that delivered over here for these Chinese companies listed on.
Yeah, so
the
of course
US
to be on the
exchange.
market you have to have transparency with the SEC with your financial matters and with your books. These particular 200 companies, I believe they're actually stationed out of Hong Kong and China. So it's no one typically local in America or North America. And they're basically not allowing access. I keep kicking you. They're not allowing access to their books, so they're being threatened of being delisted because there was the company which was, I'm going to remember it here, the Chinese chain Luckin Coffee Inc., which was listed on the NASDAQ, was found to have intentionally fabricated a chunk of its 2019 revenue.
So they've just gone ahead and assumed that every Chinese company is going to do the same?
No, I don't think they've gone on ahead and assumed. I think that's why they're looking into it more because Trump originally brought it in. Biden's been pushing it forward. I think everyone's in agreement. So nobody wants to be caught in a Ponzi scheme, and these 200 companies have been less than forthcoming with their documents. So that's where it's at. So ironically, and we know someone who owned that stock, and it was tanking.
They were down 55% in the last 12 months. Yeah, they are still down.
They're still down, but it rallied. A lot of people saying it's a dead cat bounce today.
Could be. We'll see tomorrow.
Yeah, and
36% today.
We'll see what happens. But kind of being delisted is like the epitome of
worst case scenario.
Yeah.
But they said today, the Chinese government side said they were making efforts to loosely rectify that sort of issue, have companies be more forthcoming and clarity and a list of other things. So on that news, a lot of
it rallied
today. Alibaba specifically 36%, which I think is huge for like a $340 billion company.
Yeah, we're not talking about your 20 cents junior mining or anything like that.
So I think they sold $1.5 million shares traded today, or 156 million shares traded today, or something insane. Anyway,
on another front, gold hit over 2,000 last week,
I believe. Yeah.
And where is it trading at right now?
This second, it's at 1927.
It's been kind of all over the place. It got to above 2,000. I think there were a lot of people on the junior side of things who were hoping to see that kind of transition more into their share prices they were holding, but that doesn't seem to have happened. It's just particularly the cost of gold itself, and people are buying the physical asset. Now, word on the street of this, as the cool kids say, the cool cats say, I might add, is it's a bit of a fake inflation of the cost of gold, because it's with everything that's happening with Russia and Ukraine, printing of money, a lot of foreign entities are purchasing gold, so it takes its time to move on down the chain to the things like the producers and then the junior miners and so on and so forth as well.
Of course, and obviously getting leverage on that price is buying miners and all that, and it's been up and down for sure.
So it's because technically it's a bull market. I think they say anything above 1,800, but if you've been in the market, you're probably watching thinking, what the hell is going on?
When something can actually
Where's my busy market money?
Mr. Schiff is still pumping, but he ain't getting no returns. He's running his mouth as usual. That's why I stick to the dividends, my friend.
Well, that's the safe bet. And it's funny because we always preach about the dividend side of things, about just having obviously that residual coming in every month. But now the people who are in the dividend side of things are kind of sat back and they're like, okay, I'm glad I'm not taking a part mostly for this whole gambling and world crisis and such.
Well, NASDAQ down 15% year to date.
Well, that's where the mental game of it comes in, right? Because essentially now you should be buying. Are you okay with buying that stock and watching it go up and then drop 55% and then thinking, oh, well, I need to get in and get more? That's when the whole mindset and the gambling side of things.
But I think also bigger picture is if the Fed's starting to raise rates, is tech the industry you want to be playing into, and then you're playing that whole like game, and then there's the geopolitical, and then my hairline just can't handle it. I'm too old. I'm just going
As we
dividends.
can clearly tell.
My loves, my BCEs and my Enbridges.
So, well, obviously oil reached ridiculously high cost. It's come down a
also
little
come
bit.
down a little. It's at 95 right now.
What I'm interested in BC is because I think we pay over 50 cents a litre in tax right now.
I think it's closer to 60.
Is it? Because
yeah.
in Alberta, they gave like a temporary relief of the tax. They said, we're not going to apply tax to this.
I saw something about that today, but I didn't know, it wasn't clear if that was happening here or happening at all.
I think it's just in Alberta. So I think it's 13 cents off of the litre. So I don't know if they, and I don't know how much tax Alberta collects from. I don't think it's an overly a lot because they don't have the sales tax, right? But they took off 13 cents.
That's almost, I think carbon tax in itself is like 9 cents, 9 or 10 cents.
It's supposed to go up in April 1.
Naturally. Why wouldn't it?
25%. Well, the interesting thing about the carbon tax is it's been put under a lot of pressure now because when it's broken down is it's actually contributing to inflation a lot. So I think Pierre, I can never remember his last name.
Polyev or
Polyev. He came, like he did some digging into it and got the confirmation that it was, I think it was something like 0.4 to 0.6%. The carbon tax itself had just contributed to inflation. Because obviously all of these companies who are transporting goods and foods, etc., get taxed a carbon tax, so then obviously they need to recoup their funds elsewhere, so then obviously the pricing goes up as well. So it's not, I think it was brought out and issued as a, hey, we all need to go green and be green as best as possible, and if we don't, then I think it's what, 25% it goes up?
Yeah, I know, but you pay
But it
carbon
became-
tax at the pump, we're going green, so we're going to charge you more. What's the alternative?
Well, and that's the thing, so it became,
Buy a goddamn Tesla for 50 grand starting? It's ridiculous. It's not a realistic thing. It's another, they know that everyone needs to buy gas, they know everyone's going to pay it, and there's no realistic alternatives.
just a hidden
It's a
income
gas.
source, isn't it?
100%.
It's a hidden income source. So I think we at the height reached $2.10.
Yeah, I paid this morning $1.99.
Yeah, I drove past this morning, it was $1.97, and I found myself saying, oh, it's not as expensive. I was like, oh, God, catch myself. But a little bit of relief for you. I do, although I don't know the price of inflation in the UK, in talking to my parents, when I spoke to them, it was about £1.80 a litre, which works out at about $2.30, $2.40.
Yeah, I mean, inflation too is everyone, including us, like to throw the numbers around, and I think there's a lot of people being blamed for it. Obviously, everyone is holistically, I think the fundamental of that is the debasement of the money, the printing of the money has obviously created inflation. Now, inflation is up there. I in no way believe the posted numbers in the UK, in Canada, or America. I think they skew very professionally to keep it as low as possible, even though it's way higher. But everyone's going to be exposed differently to inflation. So like if I drive electric cars and you don't, inflation has hurt you a lot more, gas price. If I want to buy expensive food and you don't, it's different. If I'm going to look for a rental right now, and the rates have all gone up. So like everyone, no matter where they are, is getting killed differently. It's not just a blanket approach, but yeah, either way it's negative. And I don't see it coming down anytime soon, unfortunately.
So there was a bit of a, so price of gas is up 32% this year over year. So there was a, where is it? Let me see if I can find it here. Came across this the other day, tips to save on gas. Check your tires, reduce your speed, avoid lots of starts and stops, get rid of extra weight, and don't vote Liberal. That was what I saw. But interestingly enough, I'm curious how the landscape of a lot of our energy projects, so because I think the places like Enbridge, etc., I think they're going to be a good bet to invest in at the moment because I think the world is realizing, especially Europe, on how reliant they are with like Russian energy, basically. Especially in the US, they're now looking at Canada as well for a source of energy. So is it going to push forward things that were previously held back or stopped, like the Keystone Pipeline, various other gas lines, LNG work? Is that going to kind of push things forward? And is that actually going to help conservatives as well when it comes to the matter? Because obviously they're more for that. And now with worldwide events as well.
I think we need to get back to reeling everything in. Trump started a lot on that with goods made in China, make America great again. His whole thing was like, let's bring jobs back, which obviously was a very positive thing and needs to be done. And these current political and tension and war times are just more evidence that that's more important than ever. So lifestyle doesn't get abruptly changed. Canada, America, and Mexico, collectively, we have everything. All natural resources.
Really? I didn't even know.
All the food we can source, and then you dive down into South America, like right here, we've got everything that we would need. Now you leave to buy Russian gas because it's cheaper, and instead of, and get stuff made in China because it's cheaper, and instead of creating more jobs here, for something to be a little bit more expensive to pay wages here, they obviously just go offshore. But when stuff like this happens, obviously it's a lot different. Germany's directly piped to Russia, or they're building one right now for oil. UK, obviously, in their natural gas, heavily dependent. That's a little bit different story over there that doesn't obviously affect us here directly. Your family, of course, it would more. But here, at least, we can keep everything contained on these shores. And I think if this isn't a time to say, okay, let's start turning those gears back again to try and keep everything here, there isn't going to be any better time of being shown that. So hopefully that's the way things go now. And I think everyone would be happy to pay a little bit more for everything if all that was kept here, safe, more jobs, and just easier.
Yeah, so that begs the question then, are the energy companies like the Enbridges, for example, who do pay dividends as well?
Oh, I'm very aware. I get a lot of them.
Then are they the good investment right now, because essentially you're buying in cheap?
If it goes that way, but I think energy is going to continue to be a big point of a good thing to invest in, because it's constant immigration standards here. Canada alone, 400,000 people a year they're trying to get in. Now with Ukraine, I'm sure that'll go higher because he's trying to get everyone in. I saw a funny thing, again, I don't want to talk politics as you know, but as we know, the whole trucker thing, and Trudeau is very verbal on how unvaccinated people were specific people, and then obviously all these people that are piping in from Ukraine, obviously there's no vaccine requirements to get all these immigrants over here and all that sort of stuff I found interesting. But anyway, I think those, investment-wise, yes, I think those things are interesting, and hopefully, especially here, Liberal government we know has a very specific view on the environmental stuff, and a lot of the companies back in Calgary here were kind of not incentivized to build out, expand their companies, and hopefully, economically speaking, that can begin to happen if it's under this government or a different one. But obviously, there's a whole environmental thing tied to that as well, which is the hot topic of late.
Speaking of the vaccine that you mentioned, I will point out, I saw a commercial the other day that I can't remember how exactly it went, but it was along the lines of this guy's just sat there on his phone, and it says something like, Gary didn't go to the gym today, like Gary didn't cook dinner today, but Gary's a good person because Gary got his booster. Brought to you by Moderna. And then, usually the slew of may cause heart attack, may cause disease, consult your doctor, and stuff afterwards as well. And I was like, oh, that's interesting how they're marketing it now. You're not a good person if you don't get this. And they're actually out there marketing it like it's a,
well, that falls in line very
business.
Yeah, and that falls in line with the narrative of the current government for sure. You don't care as much if you don't, and blah blah blah. But it's the same thing. Use an iPhone, it's better, it takes better photos. It's a company selling a product. and it's just very flavor of the month, obviously, because the pandemic is still here or just over or whatever it is.
What was a
So-
shock though is when I saw that, I remembered it's been so long since I've watched anything with commercials. Like I don't watch a huge
Yeah,
amount
we
of
don't watch
TV
TV at
anyway,
all.
but now when I do, it's just like Netflix or something. So seeing like a commercial come on was like really quite a strange phenomenon. Because that advert that I'm talking about, that commercial, it's probably really old, and I'm just seeing it for the first time.
Yeah, I don't-
But for now, round up. I think the opportunities in these energy companies on the investment side of things. That's what I would be looking at, ideally on the dividend side to keep it safe.
Yes, however, there's a slew of, I agree, and that's the way I go personally, but there's a slew of companies, and specifically, like, break the NASDAQ down to this US tech stuff, that's like heavily in the red. And the old Warren Buffett buy when there's blood in the streets, there are plenty of very, very well known companies up in that 70% off of record highs that could be appealing for the old gambler in you as well.
Yes.
It's not for me,
I'm going to stick to the dividend side of things.
but there's plenty of opportunity out there always.
That's it. There is many opportunities out there. Me personally, I'm still in the gold space, and I like the energy space as well. That's what my go-to is. Are you adding any more to crypto yourself
Yeah,
with this?
have to.
Is this because you're averaging up, or
I'm averaging down.
sorry, averaging? It's just
My
it's just
stocks,
because you're
I'm averaging
increasing
up.
your crypto portfolio because you want to, or just because there's opportunity right now?
No, because I want to.
Okay.
Because I think it's going there, and I think that's common sense now. And the other thing about that is that I find interesting is how many people want, and I understand, want regulation in the crypto market.
Well, especially with the news that it's going to be looked at even more.
Well, once it's regulated, there's a lot of bigger funds and sovereign funds and all that sort of stuff. That's the prerequisite for them to actually buy in. So I get it from that perspective, but it's interesting to watch and see who's talking about it on what levels, because that goes directly against everything that it kind of initially started out and stood for. Keeping
Yes.
money over here away from all this fiat government stuff.
However, one of the biggest problems with crypto that people talk about and people are afraid of is how do you use it, right? And like, is it going against the government and whatnot? And is it going to be banned like they did in China and things like that? But the more that the regulation comes, the more it actually cements its place.
Yes.
So there's actually a bit of an upside to that. So I mean, if you're deep into it, there's going to be a lot of people looking at this as in, okay, this isn't a discussion about banning it. This is a discussion about how do we live with this and cement this in. So again, there's an opportunity there.
There is, but I think it will also be interesting. And there's plenty of big companies that are breaking into that and gaining, allowing people to gain access to that and payment rails and all that sort of stuff. But I just liked it when it was crypto or the government, and I could put my buying power out of the hands of the government. But that's just me and my...
Well, if
Well,
anyone
there's-
watches or read Kiyosaki, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, he's been spazzing at the moment.
He's gone. I think he's gone off the rails.
Online.
I really liked him.
And he's, just been going mental about what the government is doing.
He's not a huge fan of...
What is it he
the
said
socialists
recently?
at all.
That was it, commies. He said they're going to cancel crypto, just make a government one. You commies, I think is how he ended it. So,
But that's another thing. Like if that centralized dollar comes in and they remove cash, I think that's like 5+ years out. But if that's the case, then to his point, that gets very scary with how much control they then have. But anyway, that's not here now. That's still a conspiracy theory.
I think that rounds up our financial discussion.
I think that's it. I don't have anything else on my notes.
Your
Okay.
chicken scratch that passes notes.
Beautiful. Calligraphy.
There's probably like a shopping list, like a grocery list, a noughts and crosses game, and you're like, my notes.
Calligraphy, look at this. Calligraphy.
Chicken scratch. It's horrendous. We need to cut it off.
Perfect.
Thanks for joining us again this week, guys. See you next week.
Finish the branch, eh?
He did something to it.
Huh?
I finished it.
You did?
I just don't have the bite part.
Oh, I took a bite of that bad boy.
That was you?
Yeah, that was me.
You're such a fuck. Do you have that on camera?
Do you have him spazzing on camera? Oh, awesome.